Now, what is an interest group? By definition, an interest group is an organization of people with similar policy goals who enter the political process to try and achieve those goals, but they don't ever run their own candidates for political office. So essentially, they have the same goals and aims as a political party. They want to have an influence on policy and sort of the political process, but they never actually run candidates for office. Some examples of interest groups include the National Rifle Association, or the NRA, which are among the biggest spenders in terms of interest groups, and that's basically a coalition of gun owners. And then we have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, a longtime big spending interest group that represents business and businesses across the United States. And then AARP is an interest group that focuses on social welfare for retired people. And so we have a variety of interest groups, many serving different purposes, and they tend to be centered around issues. Here you can see the annual lobbying expenditures for the Chamber of Commerce of the United States, which is one of the interest groups I talked about on the last slide. And you can see they've consistently spent tons of money year after year to promote their causes. They were the top spending interest group in 2014, and they spent $124 million. So what causes the rise of interest groups? There are a number of things that can lead to the development of interest groups. First would be broad economic developments. For example, farmers didn't really get involved in politics when they were just growing food for themselves and their families, but as soon as farmers got involved in the markets, they were impacted by government policy. And so economic developments like that, where farmers go from just sustaining themselves to selling in sometimes unstable markets, lead to a rise of an interest group to advocate for their cause. Government policy and government actions themselves can actually cause interest groups to come about as well. For example, if the government gets involved in a war, we now have a population of veterans, and as a result, we have a demand for pension for those veterans and other benefits to try and repay them for all they did for us during that war. So government policy itself and government actions can lead to the rise of interest groups. But interest groups don't just appear automatically when they're called for. Interest groups require organized leadership. They require leaders that are organized around a common cause. And then finally, government intervention can lead to the rise of interest groups. This kind of goes along with the government policy piece, but essentially the more the government gets involved in issues, the more interest groups will arise and expand to try and influence that policy that impacts them. So we're going to read an article about pizza and the pizza lobby, which we refer to as Big Pizza. Now this reading is up on Schoology as well as a worksheet that goes with it. But this reading is kind of an example of how a lobby grew from government intervention. As the government got more involved in food regulations, it led to the rise of what we refer to as Big Pizza.